Hello dear students, today we'll be seeing lesson number 8, verbs, page number 50. And in today's class we're going to talk about the verbs and its kind, and we'll also come to know how to identify two objects if there are. How to identify in a sentence, sometimes we find two objects. What are they called? They are known as, one is known as direct and the other one is indirect. But how to identify the direct and the indirect objects, that thing we are going to see. And then first of all, here what I have done is that I have just divided the verb into two. One is transitive, the other one is intransitive. Now how to identify transitive and intransitive? We'll see each of these separately. So we are going to talk about the transitive. Transitive means the subject will transfer, the subject will transfer its function to some other objects. That means in this sentence, subject is involved and the verb, it will do something, and this doing will be transferred or pass over to some object. So here we see the sentence structure, right? In a sentence, what should be there? In order to be a complete sentence, we need a subject, verb and object. Otherwise the sentence is incomplete. Like she admired the teacher. If we take an example, she admired the teacher. In this sentence, you see, she is the subject because he is the doer of the action. She does what? She does the work of admiring, isn't it? This is the verb, and her verb is transferred to whom? To an object. So she does something, she is admiring, but whom? She is admiring the teacher. So this is an example of transitive verb. So how shall we write the definition of this one? Let us see here itself. I'm just going to write the definitions, or maybe in some easy words I will just write down this one so as to make you understand. Like transitive verbs, transitive verb refers to the action, refers to what? Refers to the action that have a direct, that have what? That have a direct object to receive the action of whom? Action of the subject. So the thing which I was going to tell you, I have written down here. Transitive verbs refers to the action that have a direct object to receive the action of the subject. So in the transitive verb, what do we see? We see a object which is receiving the action of the subject. That means we can also say in other words that it requires, transitive verbs requires what? It requires an object to complete its meaning. So what have I written? It requires an object to complete its meaning. Without an object, the sentence is incomplete. So remember, in a transitive verbs, we need what do we need? We need subject, verb and object. So we can write another rule here. What is that? Let's see. It can be used in the which voice? Passive voice. Okay, it can be. That means, okay, this sentence, okay, whichever sentence that we write should be a passive voice. Okay, so these are a few things to identify the transitive verbs. So what have I written in the first one? It says the transitive verbs refers to the actions, okay, that have a direct object to receive the actions of the subject. Secondly, I have written it requires, you can see it requires an object to complete its meaning. Without the object, the meaning is incomplete. And here we see the last one, that since, okay, we need subject, verb and object, so we can write it can be used in the passive voice as well. Whereas, okay, when we talk about the intransitive verbs, that cannot be, because intransitive verbs, according to the rule, okay, we will see the intransitive verbs does not require an object. So that also we are going to see. But before we go to the intransitive verbs, let's see the examples. Okay, few examples of this. Like the first example, Rohan kicked the ball. So this is the first one. Rohan kicked the ball. Next one, she crossed the street. Okay, it's number 2. Number 3, we can write man. Okay, the man loves his children. Okay, and we can let us write one more. The doctor cured him. In all these sentences, okay, that I have written down, you can see every sentence has got a subject. Let us identify. This is subject. Here we have verb, and the other one is an object. Here also, C is a subject, cross is a verb, and the street is an object. Here also the man, subject, love is a verb, his children, his what is an object. The doctor is a subject, cure is a verb, and O is an object. So in this 4 sentences, okay, that we have written, we can see what? We can see that in all the sentences, the presence of subject, verb and object. I think, okay, the first one, okay, this transitive verb which I am trying to make you understand, I think it is clear. Let us now move on to the next one. Intransitive verbs. Let's see the first one. What are intransitive verbs? It says action. Okay, it refers to intransitive verbs are those, okay, that, okay, we'll write here action that does not, isn't it? Action that doesn't or does not, okay, let us write that does not have what? Does not have a direct object, does not have a direct object to receive, okay, to receive what? To receive that action. Does not have a direct object to receive that action. Okay, so just remember, intransitive verbs refers to those actions that does not have a direct object to receive that action. Okay, just remember, it should have what? Direct object. The other sentence also, okay, when I was just trying to write here or wrote, you might have all noticed that it requires what? It requires a direct object, not an indirect object. Otherwise, you are going to make a mistake. There can be in the sentences, okay, that we are going to come across, okay, very soon, there will be an object, but we have to see whether, okay, those objects which are they direct or indirect object. If it is only a direct object, then we can consider to be a, okay, if it is a direct object, then only we can say that is what? That is a transitive. Otherwise, okay, if this is there, okay, you see, action does not have a direct object. If that is not having a direct object to receive that actions, then we call it intransitive verb. That means we can write the second difference. It does not, doesn't it? It does not require an object to complete its meaning. Okay, it does not require an object to complete its meaning. This means that these sentences are complete in itself without what? Without an object. Remember this. We have okay, some verbs which are known as intransitive. Maybe one or two words we can take from here. Like we say the words which are intransitive. Let us write intransitive verbs. Intransitive verbs. Which are all intransitive verbs? Just like the first one, arrive. Then we can write go. Then lie. Okay. Then we can write sit. Then we can write die and smile. Okay. These are, okay, which I have written, arrive, go, lie, sit, die and smile are some of the examples of the intransitive verbs. And usually, okay, we will see the intransitive verbs will either end, okay, intransitive verbs will either end in what? We write here, intransitive verbs will either end, either ends in verb or in adverb, or sometime, okay, it also ends in prepositional phrases. Remember these things. So which I have written in the beginning, I said, okay, it needs in the intransitive verbs, it does not require an object, okay, which kind of object? Direct object to complete its meaning, though it requires, okay, but it is not a direct object. Secondly, which I have written, it does not require an object to complete its meaning. Third one, okay, intransitive verbs example, okay, just like arrive, go, lie, sit, die and smile. And thirdly, here you can know the fourth one, you can see will either end. That means, okay, intransitive verbs will either end in verbs or in adverbs, and sometimes, okay, it also ends with a prepositional phrases. And one more we can see here is that intransitive verbs are only what? Active voice. It can only be written in active. Intransitive verbs, okay, intransitive verbs can only be what? Active voice. You cannot write in passive, because to write in passive, no, it requires an object, and therefore it is always written in passive, no, active voice only. I hope, okay, the difference between the transitive and intransitive is understood. Now we are going to talk about how to identify the direct and indirect object. I'll be writing the two examples, okay, which are given at page number 52. You can see there, like Bobby gave a book to Ria. Another example we can see from here. Rupa gave Aman. Rupa gave Aman 3 shells. 3 shells. So 2 sentences I have written. First is Bobby gave a book to Ria, and then Rupa gave Aman 3 shells. So in the first sentence, it has got how many objects? 2 objects. Bobby is a subject, verb is gave, and then a book is an object, and Ria is also an object. So we see in this sentence, the first sentence, it has got 2 objects. Second also, let us identify. Rupa is a verb, gave is a verb, is a subject, here is a verb, here we have an object, and 3 cells another object. So let us look at this sentence. In the first sentence, what do we say? It has got 2 subjects, that is book and Ria. Here, book is the direct object. Which is the direct object? Here, book is called the direct object. And to answer the questions, okay, what? Okay, let us find out. When you try to get the direct answer, you must, okay, direct object, you must, to get the direct object, what you must do? You must write or ask questions like this. First, you will place subject, then verb plus what. Then you will write, okay, object. What kind of object it will be? Suppose you are asking a questions with the subject. Okay, which is the subject in the first sentence? Bobby. Okay, Bobby is the subject, and verb is a gave. Okay, and this WH word again you have to place here. So Bobby gave what? Bobby gave what? A book, isn't it? Bobby gave what? A book. So you will get here what kind of object? It is a direct object you are getting. Okay, the answer that you get, that will be direct object. Hope, okay, it is understood. And the other one, okay, Ria, is the indirect object as it answers the questions. Okay, what it answers? Let us see the next one. So here also, to get the indirect object, what we must do? Indirect object, we have to start asking questions with the same thing, subject plus verb plus, and then you must place, okay, certain thing. Which are those things? The options, okay, to, otherwise for, otherwise, okay, whom, and then not whom, you will write from whom, and then whichever you will get here, the object that you get will be your indirect. So subject, what is the subject here in the second sentence? If we look at, like no, let us talk about the first only to get the indirect object. So what is the subject here? Again we see here Bobby plus verb is gave plus, okay, to whom? Bobby gave, okay, Bobby gave to whom? To Ria, that we are getting, okay, to whom. If we place, okay, to whom, we'll get the answer. What are we getting? A Ria. So Ria, this Ria is an indirect object. I hope it is understood. So always begin asking questions, okay, begin to ask questions to get the indirect object this way. Subject plus verb, then to, otherwise, okay, for, otherwise from. Okay, with these 3 options you can ask questions, and the answer that you get will be your indirect object. Hope I have made it clear to all of you. In case of any difficulty or some questions, you can ask me during the live class. Thank you so much.